Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. It is 2:41. Fell asleep, wake up 6 hours later. Anyway, this thing appears to be on a full charging mode. So we're going to unplug it, disconnect it, and see where we are with our battery tester. We are at 12.86 volts. English, out of vehicle, before charge. Regular flooded, cold cranking amps, 615. Testing the battery. We are at 680 cranking amps. Says it's a good battery. SOC is 98%. I'm not sure what that is. So we're going to leave it on here for a few more hours. Check this thing probably 6 in the morning and be done with it. Put my multimeter back on 9 volts. 12.8. I'm gonna leave it sit and charge the rest of the night. Then I'm gonna go get that other battery that I have that is flat out dead, that was in the car that I purchased for probably a couple years, and we'll see if we can charge that thing up. I just hooked this thing back up to the battery and plugged it in, and no lights or nothing came up on it. And I pick it up, it is very warm. So I didn't see if it was warm before I unplugged it, but we're gonna see what's going on with this thing. Now I got it clipped on this plastic. I can't imagine that being a problem, but I'm gonna let it sit, cool off about an hour or so, and then I'm gonna plug it back in, or plug it back in the morning. The battery's, I think, in good enough shape that it doesn't need to be hooked back up. It can be put back in the car. But I'm also going to check this fuse here, make sure that has nothing to do with it. But I can't see why I wouldn't have got any lights on here. Didn't even get a power light when I plugged it in. Should at least gave me a power light, I think so. Maybe it blew up when I unplugged it last time. My outlet is still active, 119 volts. After about 5 minutes, plugged it back in, and it went through all the power cycles. Appears to be working. Change the mode to 12 volts. We'll see if it starts charging, and it is charging. So I guess we're back in business. Not sure what that was that happened, but I disconnected the cables from the battery, unplugged the cables from the cord, let it sit for 5 minutes, then I plugged it back in, and it gave its all power test where all the lights lit up for a few seconds. And I put the cord back in and hooked it back up to the battery. I cycled the mode button until 12 volts lit up, and it started charging again. So go ahead and leave it hooked up for a few more hours. See if we can get both of those things on our battery tester to 100%. One's at 100, the other one's at 98. And after just 1 minute of being hooked up, we're up to 4 bars, fully charging. Since that charger was pretty warm, I put it on the ground, concrete, where it'll be the safest, and maybe the concrete will help keep it cool a little bit. Here we are from 3 in the morning to 11:40 a.m. So we've gone another basically 8-9 hours on the charger, and I've read through the instructions a little bit, got a little bit more knowledge about this charger, and these 4 bars are actually the charge level of the battery. 1 bar is between 0 to 25%, so on and so forth. So it's been sitting on the charger, and the last green light is still pulsating or flashing, so it's actually between 75 and 100%. So I disconnected it. Let's see what my battery tester says. We're at 13.3 volts. Man, that's as good as it gets. We're doing an out of vehicle test. We're going to back up and do that after charge mode instead of before charge mode. So let me change that setting. After charge, regular flooded battery, cold cranking amps, 615, running through the test, and here we go. We're at 715 cold cranking amps, still at 98% SOC. Not exactly sure what that means still, but hey, I don't think this battery could be in any better shape than this, 13.3 volts. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off of the charger from here, go get that other battery out of that car that I had sitting, and see what we could do about getting that one charged up and see what happens with the results of it. Just to show you that the other battery from Lucille is flat out dead, I'm going to go ahead and jump start the car and let you see that as soon as I disconnect the jump box from this vehicle with the cables hooked up, the car is going to die. The battery is so depleted that it can't even keep the car running. So we got the jump box hooked up. I'm going to go inside and fire the car up, come back out here, pull the jump box off. So here we go. Well, I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, see what happens. And there it is. As you see, the car started. It's still running. I come out here. As soon as I disconnect the cable, I'm not sure why we can't hear the engine, but it died as soon as I disconnect the jump box from it. So this battery is flat dead. We're going to see if that charger can resurrect a battery that is flat out dead. Here we are with the battery tester. Battery tester can't even activate and show nothing on the condition of this battery. So we're going to hook up the multimeter. I have the multimeter set, and we're going to go ahead and see if it's registering anything. I got the positive one clamped on there. Wow, I'm surprised we have 3 volts. This battery charger claims it can resurrect the battery that has as little as 1 volt on it, and this one has 3. So what I want to do is open up the cells of the battery, since it has those screw-in caps, fill it up with distilled water, put this thing on the charger, and start charging it to see if it can indeed resurrect this battery from 3 volts and make it a useful battery again to be used in a vehicle. Again, I believe it was sitting in that car somewhere around 3 years before I pulled it out. The battery charger is plugged in, ran through its test cycle. As you can see, I have 1 light glowing, charging. I dug into the instructions a little bit better so that I could better understand what's going on. So with this charger, the first light means that it is under 25% charged. When 2 lights are lit, it's under 50% charged. When 3 lights are lit, it's under 75% charged. So it's between 50 and 75% when you have 3 lights lit. And when your last green one's lit, that means you're between 75 and 100%. When it's pulsating and lit, pulsating green, that means it is still charging and doing some kind of maintenance charging to the battery. So that's where we're at, and we're right there on 12 volts. Can't get that to show you. That's the 12 volt light. Anyway, it's 12:05. I'm gonna come down and check this every hour, see when this thing gets up to 50%, 75%, 100%. When it gets up to 50% or close to it, we're going to test the battery with the battery tester, probably, I don't know, every 2 hours. Now, if this was a situation where the voltage was under 1 volt, it wouldn't even start charging unless I put it in the force charging mode. I didn't have to do that because I had 3 volts, so I should be good to go. So let's go ahead and charge this thing up and See how it's going to work on this near dead battery that couldn't even keep the car running. Here we are at 1:05 p.m. The battery charger is still charging the first 25% of the battery life on this battery. So, hadn't gone too far. Oh, wait a second. The second light flashed. So, I guess it's getting up close to 25%, maybe a little more than 25%. It's like every 5 pulses, the second light will pulsate and light up and then go right back out. So it's somewhere, I would say, close to 25% charge. So we're going to let this thing sit on here a little while longer and let it keep charging and see how long it takes to get this thing charged up, a little bit at a time. I decided to go ahead and disconnect the charger and see where we're at on the battery tester. 9 volts, not quite 10 volts. We're still charging it, so I'm going to go before charge, see where we're at on the test, and here goes nothing. That one has 600 cold cranking amps, so I had to adjust that. And let's see here. It says I need to replace the battery. It's at 9.8 volts, 0 SOH and 0 SOC. No cold cranking amps. So let's leave this thing on the charger a little bit longer and see what happens. While that battery is charging, as with life, there is other things that I could be doing. So I picked up this LED light from Home Depot. Let's see if we could see what it is. It is a 4-foot bar light. Has a pull chain on it. It's LED. I think it's close to 3,000 lumens, which should be bright enough for my little work area. I'm going to set this over my little workstation. I picked this up, man. I can't remember if it was $16 or $30, but I'm going to go ahead and hook this up so I can have some light in my work area. Here's the light I got from Home Depot. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to install it. Quick and easy install. You don't have to do any special wiring or anything because these lights plug into the wall and they can also be daisy chained. So I'm taking it out of the packaging here and I'm gonna go ahead and put it over my new workstation. Let me get it out of this plastic and go from there. Hooking this thing up, showing you how it goes. It even has mounting screws and stuff in the box. Getting it out of this packaging, I'm going to put it up over this work desk area. Let me set it here and get the hanging little cable that it has, because that's how I'm going to hang it. But before I get into that, with anything that you want to test it before you install it. I've seen those guys throwing these things on the floor, so I'm not sure if that would damage them or not. So anytime you want to test something before you install it. You hate to get something installed and found out that it's not working. Let me plug this in, get the pull chain on, and make sure it works, and then I'll hang it from the floor joist that I have here. Pull this little safety plug cap, plug it in. Oh, it's already activated and working. Look at there. We actually purchased a good light. So the light's on. I'm going to go ahead and pull the chain, make sure it cuts off, and go from there, getting this thing installed. Yep, it turned right off. It turned back on. So the pull chain works. First thing we want to do is take this cable, and as you can see, it loops through that little hole on the end of the light, and you can hang it from the floor joist or a ceiling or anywhere you want to hang it from. It has 2 cables, 2 screw anchors, and 2 screws so that this thing can be mounted. It's made for shop use, not really for using around the house. So I'm going to put it one side of it here in this floor joist. So I screwed the screw in a few turns. The light is very light. You don't need to screw it all the way in. You can if you want. Since I went into wood, I don't need the anchor. The anchor is more used for sheetrock or some other brittle material that a screw doesn't screw in too well. So I got that screw there. I'm going to grab the light, hang one side. Then I'm going to pivot the other side up and see where I'm going to screw in the other screw so that both cables are connected. There it is, hanging from one cable. Again, this light assembly is very light. There's no reason to be concerned about it hanging from one loop. So now I'm going to go ahead and stretch it over the direction it's going to hang and screw the other screw in another floor joist. Here I am. I'm going to hold it up here so I can mark where I'm going to screw this last screw in. I got the cable hooked through the base of it. You can also flush mount these and use that little channel to channel it in the screw, but I'm going to hang mine a little bit, and I guess if you wanted to, you could go get a longer cable. So let me get my little ladder here and reach up here and mark where I'm going to put this other screw in so that I can get this thing finished up here. Hold it up to the floor joist, put a little mark there with a marker or something, and now let me get the screw started. With that little drill gun, put that screw in about 8 seconds, 10 seconds maybe. I'm all hooked up. I zip tied my cord on a pipe over there. Now I should be ready to go. There I go. Plenty of light in my little work area. I am lit up, people. Now the nice thing about these little lights is, and I had to check the price, I don't know if I paid 15 bucks or 30 bucks for it, has an outlet on the end. You could plug another one in, put it as far away as that cord will reach, and have power for a next one. I might do that over my laundry area. My next project is this Cubicer computer desk. I'll find the model number and put it up here for you guys to see. It is dark rustic 439. I guess that's their color code. And it's supposed to be 40 inches wide. I measured from the back of that futon to this sink here, and that's 42 inches, so this 40 inch should fit there. I got it from Amazon. I checked local vendors. The closest thing they had to what I wanted was $95. This was $65, so 33% different price. Had to take advantage of that. If it was closer to 10-15%, I'd have bought it locally, but 30% is a good chunk for me. So anyway, I picked this up. I'm going to assembly it so you guys can see how to put this together. I assume this is the SKU for it if you guys want to get it that way. I'll try to put a picture of the information that I got from Amazon on it, and a link in the comments, so if you want to purchase it, you can. Had some decent reviews, some mixed reviews, so hopefully it'll be able to withstand the torture I'm going to get it. It's supposed to be a solid little desk. I need something solid because I'm going to use it in conjunction with rebuilding cylinder heads from cars. Those are, I think, 40 pounds a piece. Loaded, they're probably 50 pounds. And I'm going to be doing all that work on here. I'm also going to mount a grinder to it, a wire wheel. So it's not going to be gently used. It's going to be roughed up. So I'll come back in 6 months or so and put a review on it if it's still standing. Let you guys know that. Opening the box, this is what we have. The reason I got it, it's got a lot of metal pieces in there. I didn't want everything press board. So I'm going to put this together. And these are the instructions. If you are not good with following instructions, these kind of instructions, fear not. This video should guide you through it. So let me go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is take the desk platform, lay it on the ground. I got B here. And when I lay it down, I'm going to lay it down with these screw holes up. You got 4 of them. So I'm going to lay it down like this. And you could put something under it so you don't scratch up the surface. That's up to you. It's a work table for me. I don't care. Next, I got my legs. C, D, C, D. Now this little notch here gets screwed in through here. So you got to set this here and find the package that has 8 screws in it and put 2 in each one. They recommend you snug them down. Don't tighten them until you get it all together. Then tighten them. So let me grab these screws. You got M8 by 40 screws. There's 8 of them. 2 goes in each leg. This is the thickest one, the M8. M6 are thinner, but they're different lengths there. These are 60 millimeters. These are 50 millimeters. Then you got some tiny ones. You got 7 of those. I got my hardware package. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. I'm assuming these are the 460s because that's probably the longest ones. I don't know why there's 5 of them when it says there should be 4 of them. These look like my 8 M6s, and they have a number 1 on them. Yes, so this number 1 pack, these secure those legs there. These are the number 2 pack. That's your 4 M6 by 60s, and they put an extra one in there. Let me grab the driver for this thing. It's an Allen key. They have an Allen key in there, but I'm going to use my power tool, and I'm going to gently use that because I don't want to destroy any of my mounting holes. Anytime you're putting something like this together, you always want to start the screws by hand. Just don't want to put a tool on there and try to get it to start, because if you miss and you strip your holes, you're messed up. So I got both of those started. Now I'm going to gently screw them in with the bit that fits them. This is a T30, but you may have a Allen that fits it. So they're not tight, they're just screwed in a little bit. Do that to all 4 corners. Surprise to me, they had an extra screw there. Next step is screw the feet in. They're in package number 5. Screw them in, those top things. I got a surprise. My package number 5 has the feet in them. However, one of them is melted onto another one. I've never seen that before in all my days of assembly and stuff. So I'm going to contact them to get them to send me another one. In the meantime, I'm going to try to separate that and get them in here. These feet serve 2 purposes. One, they protect your floor from scratching up something on the floor. And 2, you can screw them in and out a little bit to help leveling of your desk so that it's not tipping over and wobbling. So let me see if I get this thing loose and keep going from there. I was able to get it loose. I stuck a screwdriver under there and twisted it, and it pried them loose. But as you can see, one is clearly damaged, so I'll email them, see if they can send me another one. But these things was stuck together. Next, I'll put my E-bar on with package number 2 screws. These are the long ones. I put the bar here. I line up that hole, put the screw through there, snug it down, and just start them by hand so you don't strip them. So I'm going to hold it there until it lines up and stick the screw through it. I have the screws started in, and you can put the tool in there and snug them down. Don't tighten them too tight. This is thin metal. You don't have to put a torque wrench or nothing on them. Just snug them in a position like that so that they're snug and help with stability of your desk. Since these screws are M6s instead of M8s, the head's a little smaller, so I switched to a T25 instead of a T30. But you could use the tool that came in it. They have 2 different sizes in there. Tools in package number 6, I guess. Next, you want to take this and set it on your desktop. Make sure your desktop is in a position. Take the plastic off of it, set it down so that it's in a position where the screw holes are up, and you set this on top of it, and then you screw the desk down to it. It goes in these outer holes here. You're supposed to use these silver screws. They put an extra one of those in, package number 3. Don't over tighten them, just snug them down. You know, you're not trying to, I don't know, play shuffleboard or nothing on this. It's just a desktop, so snug them down. Go ahead and pull these white things off the end. They're just for shipping. Pull the plastic off of it and lay it back down so that your holes are accessible, and set your base back on it just like it is there. I got the desk set there. You can see these are not the holes for that. The hollow ones are. Slide that over so it lines up. Put a screw down in there until it falls in place. Do. and then set it on your hole there. Start screwing it in by hand. Once you get it started by hand, get the other started, and then snug them down with your tool. I screwed all 4 of them in till they started to crush the metal just a little bit, and I stopped. All 4 screw holes. I tightened those down. Not over tighten, you don't want to pull the cast nuts out of the desk surface. Next, I'm going to take these 2 leg brace and package number 4 screws, and I'm going to screw them in the side of the table that's going to be toward the wall. So I'm going to flip this up, put this edge toward the wall. So I'm going to secure a leg brace here, that hole there, and do the same here, that hole there. And then I'm going to snug all these screws down because a few of them are still loose. The only ones I got snug down right now are these holding the table platform to the frame. Again, put those braces in the side of the desk that will be against the wall. So let me go ahead and put those in, and then I'm going to flip the table over and hang the little pouch thing we have here. I got 2 things left. I decide which side of the table they're going to go on. I got a little hook here. I got a screw for that. Screw it in one of these 2 holes on the end of the table. And then I have this pouch here where I can do the same thing. On this pouch, you can hang it like this. Just snug those screws down. They don't have to be super tight. And you'll be all done. You have it. You put your hook like that, snug it down. You put your little storage pouch on like that and snug those screws down, and you're all done. You have your nice little table put together. Not sure what these little magnetized clips are, but I imagine you could magnetize paper or something against the frame of the desk or whatever. So little accessories there. That's that. Now you can put it where you need it and level it out by screwing in or unscrewing in your feet. If you got any questions, go ahead and post it. I hope this helped. The last thing I usually do when I have something like this, I take all the extra screws, put them in their little bag, and the instructions, I put them in a Ziploc bag, fold them up, tape it to the bottom of your desk or table, and you'll have your spare screws with you forever. Another option you have that I decided to use was I screwed my little hook on the inside of this leg here through the hole that I didn't need from not using that triangle support. So that's where I put my hook there. I am now 2.5 hours into charging. I got a solid light here. This light flashes 5 times and then it goes solid, and this one flashes 5 times. So that's where I'm at, and I'll test it here in another 30 minutes to see where it is on my battery tester. So the next flash, that'll go solid, and the next light will flash 5 times, and then that will go out and let the other one flash 5 times. So I'm somewhere in between 25% and 50% charged. Here we are, better than 50%. The orange light is flashing. It's between 50 and 75%. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it because it's been charging now for 3 hours. Disconnect it, run the battery tester, see where we're at, and then hook it back up to the charger. Keep going. Remember, this battery started at like 3 volts. Here we are, 11 volts. English, out of vehicle. We are still charging, so I'm going to let that go to before charge because we didn't have green light. Regular flooded, cold cranking amps, 600. And it's testing. We're still at SOH 0%, SOC 0%, 12 volts, still have 0 cold cranking amps. I wonder if this will start the car. I'm going to go with no, 11 volts. Something's going on here. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and open up those cells and fill them up with distilled water if they're not filled. I should have done that before we started. I took the caps off. It appears that all 6 cells are low on liquid. I'm going to fill this liquid up to the bottom of the cap holes that I pulled out. That's where I believe they should be. and I'm going to fill them up with distilled water. They have some kind of battery acid solution that these should be filled up with, but I'm assuming that none of the acid is depleted, just the distilled water. So I'm going to fill this up and then put it back on the charger. I have a fresh gallon of distilled water. I keep distilled water around because that's what I use in my coolant system. And we'll see how much it takes to fill those holes up until they're at the bottom of these caps. I don't know if there's a fill line, but I'm going up to the caps. About a half a gallon shy, I went up to where you see the hole starts on most of them. I got them pretty balanced in there. I could put a little bit in these 3 here, 3, 4, and 5, just a little bit more, but I'm probably good. Short of a little bit I spilled, man, that thing almost took a half a gallon. It is now 3:20, back on the charger for its 4th hour of charging. Now the cells are filled with liquid, whatever's in there, plus distilled water. If the battery that you have has these access ports, go ahead and unscrew them and fill them up with distilled water or close to full. Some batteries also have a little window that has a little green light when there's enough liquid in there, float in there, so you could do that too. Now when I filled this side up, none of the other ones filled up, so they're individual cells. The large flat rate box are no wider than the medium flat rate box. So I figured out a way to squeeze a flywheel in a medium flat rate box. I'm gonna go get some tape it around that way 2 or 3 times, tape it around that way 2 or 3 times, tape it around that way 2 or 3 times. Maybe it'll still be in the box when it gets there. I meant to tape a label on the flywheel before I shipped it, because if it gets lost, I don't have another one to replace it with. New, these things were $500. Viva sells a lightweight one for about $450. Personally, you can't get one new. These are worth $500. I'm giving a deal on a couple of them because I have a couple of spares, but I think the spare supply is gone. $200 to $400 is probably a fair price for a single mass flywheel. One of the solid ones you get on the 850s. That's just my opinion. Other people may have other opinions, but when you can no longer get it apart new and they're hard to find, that raises the price or value on the ones that you can get a hold to. Let me go ahead, print a label, get this thing delivered to the post office, and work on getting these fuel lines in some kind of container to ship them. Well, sad to say, looks like we have a leaking cell that will trash this battery. But I got all this battery acid here. So I'm going to open up these cells and see which one's leaking, and maybe dry that out and see if I can plug that hole. Oh man, stinks. Let's open them up, see which one's leaking after I disconnect this. It's still throbbing that last light, which means it's between 75 and 100%. Let's see where we're at. I got the cell caps off. The first one is still full. The second one is still full. Third one appears to be empty. And the fourth one is still full. So I would say that the third cell is the one that is leaking. And it actually looks like there's a crack in the casing. So I'm starting to think this battery probably froze. Let me get this sticker off of here and see how far up this crack goes, because it is surely cracked, and the only reason I think that it could have cracked is if it froze. So let me peel this off. Wow, look at that, cracked all the way up there. Talked to Dan the man. He said when a battery is discharged, it can freeze. When they have a charge on them, they usually don't freeze. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.